All right, we're going to get things going on episode 1 of the Campaign Couple. I'm Ben.
And I'm Mel. Welcome.
We're just going to get stuff started this week, kind of go over some housekeeping.
Check us out on our social media. You can search Campaign Couple on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to find us. Our links for our social media pages are also in the description.
So, just to kind of give you some background about the channel, we're a gaming culture podcast. We want to hear from you guys. We want to cover topics that you guys care about and what we care about. We're not going to be just gaming news that you can find on any other site that's coming out nonstop every single day. So we're kind of going more in depth on topics, where the gaming industry is going, etc. on that. So the best ways to support us is, like Mel said, go on our socials, follow us, share our content, and also our Patreon, which is also Campaign Couple. So we are going to get into the first segment, a kind of little get to know you Q&A. We're going to start talking about what our favorite childhood games and consoles were. So Mel, what were some of the games that you played growing up?
So my earliest memories of, playing on the console would definitely be Nintendo 64, which came out in 1999, I think. I remember playing Donkey Kong 64 on it. I also remember playing PC games like the OG GTA, which I probably shouldn't have been playing, given how young I was, but that's okay. I definitely had a phase where I was super into GameCube. I was obsessed with that SpongeBob game, the Bikini Bottom game.
Oh, yeah. I used to play that at my friend's house. I never had it, though.
Yeah, I was obsessed with it. But what about you? What did you mainly play?
When I was super young, it was Pokemon on all the handhelds, the Game Boy and all that.
Definitely.
Mario and Smash, Atari games. I was on... PlayStation was probably my first console, like the original PlayStation. I played kind of those motocross, ATV games, the Tony Hawk games. Actually, I don't know if those were out yet. Those might have been just on PS2. But then I moved on. PS2 was, played Battle for Middle-earth a bunch. And... And then I played Battle for Middle-earth on PC a whole bunch, moved on to PS2, played all the Jak and Dexters, Ratchet and Clanks, Kingdom Hearts was a big one, Battlefronts when they came out. I wasn't really so much on COD. I don't even like COD a ton. I like Black Ops 3, that one's okay, but... I like Medal of Honor all growing up, and then that's actually the reason I got an Xbox 360 was for Medal of Honor Airborne. I played it at my friend's house. I just thought it was the first time there was ever jumping out of a plane, having a parachute. Before Fortnite and Apex, all these games it was part of the mechanics. It was the first time that was kind of in a game, so that was super fun. But yeah, then I stayed Xbox 360 all the way until PS4, and then Halo, Skate, Battlefield, Destinies, Skyrims, Assassin's Creed. They're all kind of staples for me.
Well, what game did you play the most? If you could clock up your hours, what game do you think you played the most hours on, out of your entire life?
That one's tough. I'd say that when I was younger, it was probably Kingdom Hearts. I played that game a bunch. Battlefront 2. Not Battlefront 2, but Battlefront TOO. Because that one I spent a bunch of time on. One was more campaign, one was more like a multiplayer before it was all online. So they kind of balanced that out. I got a little bit older. I played the skate games a bunch. So much time just spent. Because, you could do the campaign and then you just skate around it's essentially when I was growing up and I couldn't skate outside, it was raining or something. That was the game I was playing. But overall, most time spent in a game, it would probably be a Skyrim or Assassin's Creed.
Definitely easy to clock in those hours playing that.
I mean, Skyrim is just such a complete game. It's so open world, and you can be any class, and it was kind of the first game that size that was that popular too. So that was a big game, and I mean, people are still playing that game. But what about you? What would you say your most clocked game is?
I would actually say it's pretty easy for me. I definitely played those Ratchet and Clank games, the series, on the PlayStation. I think it was on PlayStation 2 is what they started on.
Mostly.
I was obsessed with those, and I was like probably 11 when they started coming out, and I remember thinking that the names were so edgy at the time. Like, I think the second one was called like Going Commando, and then the next one was like Up Your Arsenal, and I just remember that thinking that was so funny. But yeah, my little brother and I were super obsessed with those games. He definitely introduced me to them, but a couple years back when I broke my foot and I had nothing else to do, I definitely binged the Ratchet and Clanks again, at least the ones that I could find.
I mean, when we moved, we had so little space, but we still prioritized like the PS2 and the PS2 stuff.
Oh yeah.
What about? Let's move to 2020. What are your most anticipated games coming out this year?
There's a lot of good ones.
There are a ton of games coming out this year. What are your 2 most anticipated games?
I am looking forward to... I'm only going to say it because I know you won't say it, because there's so many good games coming out. But it's called Away, the survival series. And it's on PC and PS4, and it's supposed to come out, I think, in September of 2020.
Is that kind of like the indie game? It's like an evolution. You're like an animal type of deal?
Yeah, you play as a sugar glider. I don't know. It just, the graphics looked really good on it. I think there's only one trailer out, which doesn't really tell us that much. But yeah, it looks like you play as like a sugar glider, and it's kind of like
what is a sugar glider?
It's like a squirrel that flies through... I don't know. It's a squirrel that flies, pretty much, I think. But it kind of seems like it's like an unevolved Earth that you're on or something. It doesn't really seem like there's humans. It's kind of like an apocalyptic type Earth.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw that trailer, but it looked pretty cool. I mean, those games are always cool because it's the mechanics. It's not so much, it's the concept and moving through and kind of exploring the world. It's not even so much the storyline. There's always some new mechanic that they come out with, especially for all the game testers, because they're testing the same games nonstop every year. They're just always begging the developers for some new cool concept or something like that, and those games are perfect for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just liked how open it looked, and how you
the lighting looked good too.
Right?
Sorry.
The shadows, no, you're fine. The shadows, and yeah, it just looked really cool. So I'm excited about that, even though it might not be on everybody's, anticipated games list, but it's definitely on mine.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, it looks good. I'll definitely check it out when it comes out. My probably most anticipated game, probably a lot of people's, is Assassin's Valhalla.
Oh,
that's coming out. I mean, that just
number one.
It just looks ridiculous. The whole concept. I mean, Vikings Valhalla and against England and France and all that stuff. It's just a perfect concept, and it looks like they just not copied, but they really took after the show Vikings. And that show's just awesome, and the whole concept is just great. So, and the trailer looks cool. I don't know what's going to go on in terms of it launching and everything with COVID going on. Hopefully everything stays on track, but I mean, it's not looking like it. But in terms of the actual game, it just looks awesome. The lighting, the content. I mean, you can even go at get you can go to like a tattoo parlor and get your Viking tattoos and all of that stuff. So that looks cool.
I did see that it will be one of the most graphic Assassin's Creeds as far as what you can do,
which is saying something because it's an Assassin's Creed.
Exactly. I read that and I'm like, whoa, okay, so what can it be? So I'm pretty excited about it, but I mean, if definitely parental guidance.
I mean, the trailer looked pretty gory, but not more than any of the other cinematic trailers have ever been. I don't really know what the gameplay is going to be. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be. I don't know. I mean, how much crazier can Assassin's Creed get? So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to that.
I did see you can decapitate people. I don't know.
Yeah,
is that?
Yeah, you could do that in some of the other ones. But
I didn't know if that was strictly just the Valhalla, but.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. It doesn't look crazy bad. Probably not even as bad as the next game I'm going to talk about. But same type of quality and lighting, and the story just looks crazy. I'm still learning more and more about it. I just watched the publisher release the other day. But Ghost of Tsushima? I'm pretty sure. I think it's Ghost of Tsushima. And it just looks crazy. It's got me excited. The lighting's nuts.
Is that the one with like the warrior one?
Kind of. Well, there's different classes, different people, but it's essentially a samurai Assassin's Creed in a way. I don't want to compare the two like that, but it's kind of mechanics and fighting is kind of set up like that, where it's more story mode and open world. But actual fighting is kind of more strafed, isolated battles.
You said it was samurai. Is it more like cultural samurai?
Yeah. It seems like it's ancient Chinese versus Mongolians, which is what the publisher video was. Is he was fighting Mongolians? I don't know what other parties or factors are involved, or what the storyline really is. But the quality looks insane. And the map looks really, really big as well. So that one, between those two, will probably be my favorite games coming out of this year. And there's limited trailers out, but I can already tell you that those will probably be my most clocked games. Let's move into Battle Royale. And there's kind of a few main games out right now. Some new ones, Fortnite, obviously, PUBG still in there, Apex, COD's new Warzone. Let's kind of talk about pros and cons and where 2020 is going to take everything. I think that a couple of these are going to be obsolete, and I think the rankings are going to shift around a little bit. I don't think Fortnite is gonna. I think they're not gonna implode. But I mean, what's keeping them in the game right now is having like live concerts and like having celebrities. They're still having a bunch of people log on, but it's not about the game and nothing. I don't see anything new for it.
I was a big fan of Fortnite probably until a couple months ago when I really started playing Apex heavy, and then I just kind of forgot about Fortnite a little bit. Apex is just. For me, it just seems like so much more in depth and...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so I'm going to kind of nix out PUBG. It kind of has its place. It has minimum system requirements out of all of them. It's been around a long time. PC's huge. There's mobile for it. So that's, I mean, I get why that's there. COD's there too because it's COD and it's a label. There's a couple other... I just don't see... I've watched the gameplay for it, and it maybe looks a little bit more in depth than PUBG, but I just don't see it being new enough new mechanics or new anything really for it to stick, other than the fact that it's a COD and people are going to play it because it's a COD. But yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on it. Apex is, I think, going to overtake, and it kind of ebbs and flows. But yeah, Apex is definitely the most intense game out of all of them. the compatibility on PC and console is on point, and customizations, all that. I mean, it has all of the factors to be on top and to beat out Fortnite for sure.
Yeah, I think the customizations with the weapons is what was really complex for me at first. At first, I think it maybe even intimidated me a little bit with going from Fortnite to Apex, where Fortnite, I mean, you have, you know, different
ranked guns.
Right, you have different ranked guns, but in Apex, I mean, you have different ranked guns, and then you can have different ranked
armor and scopes
everything.
And stocks and barrel stabilizers. Yeah, and there's different levels for everything. It makes out-of-game customization super intense with like your frame, your banner, your pose, your skin, all of that. And then but in-game, just being able to, the need to constantly loot throughout the entire game, or to push people, like actually get into combat and fight to take people's armor, is mandatory. And I think that more than any other game, I mean, I don't know, COD and some of those, maybe not, but way more than Fortnite, squad playing and actual teamwork is crucial.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because in Fortnite, I mean, you can build, which is what I guess probably first attracted me to it, is that there was that extra
that's their
element.
Mechanic, that's their grab.
It was that extra, I can just get really good at the mechanics and build and hide, and you know, and you can definitely do that in Fortnite. You can, you know, not be as good and just kind of hide out and get really good with the mechanics, but in Apex, you can hide out, but you will come into battle. You'll
fight for sure, and it's way more critical about how you fight. I feel like it's so much more strategic. Fortnite. And
also the communication within your team is absolutely mandatory.
Pinging locations and enemies and all that stuff. It's way more inclusive. And Fortnite also, there's just like such a ceiling that if you're not a competitive esport player and you're not full-time playing it, there's no way you're going to get competitive building fast enough or anything like that. There's just no way.
Yeah.
But Apex, I think, I mean, definitely where it starts to separate is being able to finish battles and you know, win battles, but there's not necessarily the same distance between pros and amateurs. You know, you can, if you're good at first person shooters, you'll manage at Apex until you kind of get some of the mechanics down. But I just think that it's so much more fun, way more inclusive, and
the perks of the characters too. In Fortnite, the characters, in Fortnite, the characters don't have special abilities. I mean, different characters are, I guess, cooler than other ones because you need ranked points to get each character. But in Apex, each character is super vital for the team. Like, you want to pick characters that you know their abilities.
Like passive and active abilities and all of that, yeah.
Their abilities, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that bottom line, if they're both free games, Apex is quality and content way more inclusive, way more customization, elements of gameplay, to the point where at first it's intimidating, but it's really not. Like, you walk through the training mode and it's pretty straightforward. You start
definitely do the training mode too. Like, I'm not even necessarily a fan of training modes. Like, you definitely are more into training modes than me, but the training mode was really good on Apex.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all in all just so much more engaging. And I mean, it's gonna start ellipse. It's still nowhere near the amount of streamers on Twitch or YouTube and it hasn't eclipsed total users yet either, but I think it was like end of August of 2018, Fortnite had 78.3 million users, but I think it was sometime in 2019, maybe September, Apex had already broken 70. So
Oh,
it's,
wow.
yeah, I mean, it's getting right there.
Definitely on the up and up.
Yeah, honestly, if you like COD, Warzone is cool. Go for it. PUBG never really just caught my attention. It just seemed kind of like it set the stage for Battle Royale, but other people stuff has just passed it, and it's not like I have anything that system requirements that require me to play it. I don't know. And even if I did, Fortnite on low quality is probably compatible. Fortnite, I think, is just aging. I think the age is just getting younger and younger, except for competitive gamers. And they're trying to, I don't know, they're trying to get into virtual socialization space or something, like having concerts and stuff. I just think that their image is blurred and it's not a first-person shooter mentality at all. So for sure, 2020, by the end of 2020, I think Apex is probably going to dominate. We'll see how COD does. There's a couple other games coming out that, I don't know, are essentially COD. So we'll see. But for the sake of time, we'll keep moving on. Next up, we're talking Star Wars.
Woo! A favorite topic, probably.
I know. We love Star Wars.
But question.
Yes.
Is it at a standstill?
I don't know. So, the industry in general, Star Wars is not a scary place, but
I'm
definitely
scared.
Yeah, I mean, just for true fans, for not even just gaming, but just in general, there's going to be a lot of waiting going on. But in terms of games, I think it is at a standstill for sure. Battlefront, on launch was a flop.
Mm-hmm.
And constantly was being worked on. It got better. I mean, right now is the best time to play Battlefront in all seriousness. But they came out with their last content update, new maps, everything, and it truly is at a high point. But they said that they're going to start moving away towards their next year's projects. So yeah, right when it was tolerable, they're moving away from it. So that's a huge disappointment, but it's kind of what EA does to games. There is a petition out, though, which, before we recorded this, it was at 77,000 signatures, just pretty much saying that keep working on the game, put out DLC packs and content, and we'll pay for it, have it a flat rate or subscription, whatever their model wants to be. People are just begging for more for Battlefront because it's just now at a point, and they never came out with the total amount of skins or people like Ahsoka or anything like that for Battlefront that they said that they were going to from launch. They said that they were going to make Padme too.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't know about that. I knew there were some rumors about Ahsoka, and that would have been amazing. I would love to see her in Battlefront.
Yeah, and I think she's so critical to Star Wars, but I understand why they didn't go that route at first because they only had cinematic characters.
Right.
But, I mean, even with this last content update, they brought the Darth Maul skin from Clone Wars with the mechanic legs and everything.
Very cool.
They're starting, and in the last movie, they had Ahsoka's voice. They're starting to incorporate the animated and the live action together. So I don't see why in games they don't blend that too. So I'd love to see some form of Ahsoka or someone in Battlefront or a future game. But I'll link the petition in the description for this just so you guys can go sign it if that's a game that you guys care about. But next is probably Fallen Order, which is, it just came out recently for a Star Wars title, and it's the first step in the right direction. Like it's a fun game.
Unrelated Jedi in it, right? A Jedi that we don't.
Yeah, so there's a Jedi Cal. It's essentially timeline after Order 66. Empire is going on, and his master's killed, and it's a storyline of him just trying to protect the Force-sensitive children during that time period. I won't go into it too much, but it's good content. I think he's a weak Jedi, personally. I think that, I don't know. I mean, I get you can't make a bold character that isn't in any of the movies or anything, but I thought it was just a little juvenile of a character. But
like, maybe they could have used,
just maybe just a little bit more BA, I don't know.
Yeah. Or just use Ahsoka.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
Yeah,
that would have been really cool.
Yeah, that would have been so cool if they could have made content in between video game with Ahsoka. Because, like, she's a white Jedi and no one knows...
And all the different phases that she goes through during her, like, course of her life is...
Yeah. Just even in between Clone Wars and Rebels.
Right. She's such a dynamic character.
Yeah. That would have been really cool. I actually hadn't thought about that. That'd be a really cool concept. But, I mean, Fallen Order, first step in the right direction for Star Wars games in the past long time.
But give us more.
Yeah, basically. Seriously. But how can they? Because so Fallen Order just came out. What do they have next content-wise? They
have Kenobi and the second season of Mandalorian.
Yeah, but that's it. And I'll be honest, Mando Season 2 looks awesome. Season 1 was awesome. There's rumors about Ahsoka, Boba, bunch of people in it.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of rumors.
Yeah, I know. It looks... There's even Ezra Bridger from Rebels.
Yep.
There's a rumor that he might even be in it. So, that, I mean, it sounds super cool, and Kenobi is going to be awesome. It's kind of at a standstill shooting right now with COVID. But once that comes out, it's going to be awesome. But TV and just on-screen movies and TV... it's just not going to be enough for a game. You need an entire plot line. You need a full movie. I don't know where they're going to pull enough content from a TV show for a game.
Yeah, it'd definitely be hard.
And we don't know anything about movies, next saga or trilogy or anything, or content-wise if it's going to be... They said it's going to completely move away, but I don't know if Rey wouldn't be... They might just do something... like with Ahsoka in between Rebels and Clone Wars. So I don't know anything about it, and no one does.
Yeah,
so,
I'm definitely excited to even just get hints about what direction they're going to go in, because, I mean, even since the last movie, it's like we're at a standstill. We have no idea what path they're going to take, what timeline they're going to use, we have no idea.
Yeah, and I'm not scared about Star Wars going away in the same sense that it did in between the original trilogy or the prequels or anything like that. Because, I mean, it's owned by Disney, which, I mean, regardless how you feel about it, they have the money to keep it going, and they have the intention of wanting to make money. So they're not going to abandon Star Wars. And J.J. Abrams kind of has the movie front. Dave Filoni has like all of the animated side content, and he's just a guru in the Star Wars world. He helped direct Mando too, so he's kind of getting into live action. So with some of those big names in Star Wars, it's in a safe place. But I just want more content. Like I don't want to be selfish or greedy with a new movie just coming out, but something about just not knowing what the future holds for it makes you want it so much more, which is definitely some sort of marketing tactic.
For sure. They're
always so lock and key about Star Wars, but I don't know. In terms of games, I think we've got a while in terms of anything. Unless they make another Fallen Order type of game where it's an unknown story, which they've done before. I mean, that's what the Unleashed games were. Mm-hmm. Wasn't kind of in between story, which they could do, but it needs to be a strong story. It needs to come off pretty strong and like actually add content to the universe. Because other than that, we're waiting a bit because there's just no new content coming out.
Right, and I mean, our generation has been pretty spoiled as far as Star Wars universe. Like you said, when
especially ours too.
that's what I'm saying.
Right at our point,
we've always had movies coming out. We've always had new content to look to, like
in one shape, form, or another.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up was like right at the prequels. We already had the original trilogy
Mm-hmm.
to kind of binge through. Then it went all animated and Clone Wars and everything for a bit, which I wish I would have been on that.
Oh, me too.
Curve faster.
Yeah, me too. We just pretty recently actually got into that, like within the last year, and that makes me sad because I am obsessed with Clone Wars now.
Yeah.
Clone Wars is great. I also really like Rebels too, and I didn't want to give it a chance because
I didn't think so either. I thought the demographic was younger. I thought it was going to be.
And it definitely
more
is.
Of a cartoon.
It definitely is for a younger demographic, but I mean, if you're into Star Wars, it doesn't matter.
It's adding content to the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, there's no way if you're a true Star Wars fan that Kanan versus, like, the Inquisitor or the Jedi Temple Guard or anything like that is not going to be... And I said that in a way specifically so there's not spoilers in any way, but, I mean, that... If you like Star Wars, there's no way you don't like that.
Yeah.
So, but, we'll keep moving along. Let's see here.
So, something that Ben has been into since we have been quarantined for COVID is he built his own PC. And so we thought that we might talk about that a little bit. We also have a blog that, I don't know, do you want to talk about that? That you posted in the blog?
Yeah, I am building a PC building guide and just like buying guide. And if there's any interest in that, definitely reach out and say if that's something that you guys would want. But essentially for COVID, everyone's at home for the first times, like working from home for the first time and needing computers. And I had never built a PC before. So I really went in depth on the research to find out what I needed, how to do it, and it was a pretty painless process. Like the research was pretty straightforward. Building it was super easy. I mean, installing the operating system was the most tedious part about it, but just because of our internet speed. Yeah, so we just kind of wanted to talk about with so many other people at home working for the first time, gamer or editing or just work regardless, just kind of what goes into the parts buying a PC and kind of how to do it for yourself, where to find it right now because, you know, Amazon might be pushed a month out. Just kind of like that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I would say even the longest process is definitely researching it and the parts coming in because you ordered your parts on so many different sites because of, you know, Amazon takes so long. But
yeah, I mean, Amazon was pushed. I mean, right when I was doing this is at the beginning. The times have gotten a little bit better, but some of the stuff they weren't even shipping at that point. It was essentials only. So I kind of had to get creative. Best Buy came through for most everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because their distribution was still on track. Nothing got delayed. Walmart was an option I looked at. eBay is one that I never feel super reliable about.
But we did buy the monitor from eBay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely an option, and you can always do that to shop around and find best prices or to bid on something, try to get it cheaper. But between, like, Walmart, Best Buy, and Amazon, you'll be able to get almost everything. There are some cheaper PC sites that you can kind of get into. But once Amazon shipping gets a little bit back on, you can shop around for best prices and different distributors, too,
So I guess let's talk about the parts you need. So, like, what are the top essential parts?
So, I'm going to kind of just list through and we can talk about them briefly. And again, if you guys want a full guide on this, like a downloadable guide, just let us know, because I am kind of putting one of those together, and I can make that a bigger priority if that's what you guys want. But essentially, you got to start with your CPU. So that's, brain of your computer. Quality, how much you spend. As you go up the food chain, you're going to get faster speeds, better processing, just overall better performance. And that's going to be determined on how many and the speed of your cores and your CPU. So for each core, there's 2 threads. Nowadays, you're looking at probably wanting a minimum of 4 cores for basic business work, but you're gonna want in between 6 to 12, depending on your gaming or editing, somewhere in there. But yeah, CPU, you can go the Intel route, but AMD super on the rise. That's what I'm using right now. AMD Ryzen, super happy with it, with the Wraith cooler fan. It just comes with it. It's not
very
anything
quiet
crazy.
Too.
Yeah, it's super. The loudest thing on my PC is the disk drive, and that's just because I went cheap for that. It's just storage. But so you have the CPU, you have your motherboard. That's everything's plugging into that. It's the highway for everything in your computer. You can get them with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth adapted. How many PCIe slots is important. That's where your graphics cards are going to go. How many RAM slots is important. So it's just kind of, as you go up the food chain, you're getting more customization options. Next, you want your graphics card. And this is doing all your rendering, all the work for your visuals going to your monitor or screen, whatever you're using. This is what's going to be critical for your video editing and your gaming, especially gaming, streaming too. Your video editing, your CPU is also super critical, but for gaming, your GPU or your graphics card is pretty essential. I'd say for most games, you're going to want a minimum of 4 gigs. I mean, you can do some low quality with 2 gigs, maybe Fortnite. Some of them you won't even be able to. But for low quality, expect 4 gigs of in your graphics card. As you move up the food chain, you're going to want anywhere from 6 to 12, 8 being a pretty good place right now, with being able to play actual graphics qualities, higher end graphics for games, and still be running smoothly. But next, you're going to want some sort of storage. So your 2 options on storage is SSD or HDD. Essentially, your SSD is going to be faster but more expensive for your storage. So, I'd recommend getting an SSD with at least 250 gigs on there. For all of your basic operating system and apps and all of that stuff that you open in speed is a factor. But then I would get just a bulk size HDD, at least 1 terabyte, for all of your documents, files, pictures, all of your non-essential files that you don't need, speed as much, and that way you can kind of balance the budget and get the most amount of storage. An external hard drive isn't a bad idea either, in case you catch a virus or anything like that. But moving on from that, I'd say RAM is a good place to go to. Honestly, nowadays, just start at 16. Everything you're going to need. I mean, if you're just doing some work, basic work, Word documents, stuff like that, you can get away with 8. But 16 for basic games, apps, just everything. You need 16. But if you're a huge multitasker, playing intensive games, you're doing a lot of video editing, 32 is going to be where you're going to want to go. If you're in the range of 64, so I won't even talk about that. But starting point 16, if you can, move to 32. Moving on from that, you need your power supply. Most of the setups you're going to build, you need at least 500, 550. 600 is going to be a good place. Honestly, it's not super important. Your power supply, the only difference is going to be modular or not modular, which is whether it has a bunch of cords coming out the back that you may or may not need, or only the cords that you need, and how clean those cords look. Just add up the total wattage that each of your parts need, and you'll know kind of what you're at. Honestly, a 600 to 750 might be overkill, but plan for expansion. Plan on upgrading as the future goes on, and so you don't need to buy another power supply for no reason. But wrapping up from there, you need a case. Go for, a case that is easy to use, has a nice setup. That matches your motherboard too. If you're using an ATX motherboard, use an ATX case. But yeah, other than that, case isn't as important, but how many slots for your graphics cards or any plugins on the case or anything like that are different options. Fans are important too. Your case may or may not come with fans or enough fans. So getting a couple cheap, or as you go up the food chain, nicer fans or water cooling is an option too. So just make sure that you research what you need, your all your running temps at and everything like that, and you are in that range. But other than that, fans aren't super important. But I don't know. Did I miss anything? Let's see here. I don't think so. I don't think so. You have your fans, your graphics card, CPU, motherboard. Extras as you go up. I'd upgrade CPU, motherboard. CPU and graphics card are kind of the main things if you're going to spend money on having a nicer one. Third being motherboard. And then extras, you can put lights in your case, extra fans or water cooling or cable extensions if you don't like how your power supplies cables look. But let me just go over really quick. Essentially, your base builds, you're looking at about $500 just for the computer, not even depending on how much your operating system is or how much you pay for Windows or Linux, anything like that. Your monitor, keyboard, some stuff like that are essential, but not included. You're starting around 500, but sky's the limit, up to 1,000, 2,000 for top parts or newer parts.
But even $500 is a quarter of what.
You buy a MacBook or something like that. Yeah, it's
insane.
And this is for, a $500, $600 build custom build has the capacity that a $2,000 to $3,000 pre-built computer is going to be.
Right.
So you're still saving so much money.
What is the longevity of that? You know what I mean? As far as my laptop, I have a Mac, and I think it's from 2014, I think.
Yeah, you have no way of upgrading it.
No, it's going to crash pretty soon here, probably. And this computer, as things age out, you can just replace them. Yeah, just by the part. If you, and your case is going to last, your cables and your power supply, all that stuff, you don't need to swap out. Maybe eventually if you max it out, but super affordable. But really quick before we move off of that and kind of wrap up the episode, I'm going to go over some system requirements for you guys. Just so you know, for DaVinci Resolve
which is going to be about the most intensive option you're going to have for video editing. You're going to want at least an AMD Ryzen 3rd generation. You're going to want at least 4 cores on that, but ideally you want 6 to 8, or an Intel Core i7 processor. You're going to want 6 gigs of RAM, at least 4 for your GPU. Your memory doesn't take up a whole lot, but minimum 512 of SSD. Storage space, it's just going to be slow any other way. But that's about it for the DaVinci Resolve. Apex, which is going to be a little bit more intensive than Fortnite. It still is only Windows 7, an i3, or an AMD 4300, 6 gigs RAM, but recommended 8. And, I mean, recommended only a GTX 970 or a Radeon 290. So, I mean, if you get in that 6 to 8 gigs that I was talking about, you're totally fine for Apex. I mean, it comes up to your internet connection, but in terms of running it, you're fine. So, like I said, for any of the basic uses that you would be building a PC, that $500 to $700 range is you're gonna hit any of those needs. Without breaking the budget, and so much cheaper than any other alternative, or even a console, which is the biggest reason we've seen PC gaming take off. But yeah, that about wraps up PCs, and we're gonna wrap up the episode. I'm gonna put a link to any of the websites or the petition for Battlefront, for instance, in the description and on our socials. Definitely be sure to check out our socials. It helps us out a lot. We're trying to grow this into a job. This is not our full-time job, and we do this mainly for fun and to be helpful for you guys, to give you guys some content and see what you guys need covered and researched. So if this was helpful, definitely reach out to us. Or also our Patreon is our main source of income from this podcast as we're growing. Be sure to, I mean, honestly, donations and sharing are the biggest ways you can help us. And if this was applicable to you, leave us some feedback or let us know what you want to see in the future.
Yeah, definitely. You can follow us on Campaign Couple. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We really appreciate you guys listening and just any feedback. So
leave us questions too. We
definitely
want topics. Ideally, the first segment we talked about is going to turn into audience questions. Which what do you guys think about certain topics, or what topics you want us to research, find out more about, a game you want us to play. So just let us know. But until then, this kind of wraps up episode 1. A little rough because it's our first time at it, but we're going to be releasing these on a weekly basis, as well as, live streaming some Twitch games, putting some content on YouTube, some stuff on social media. So definitely some exciting stuff coming forward. So tune back in, and we appreciate you guys listening.
Thanks.